Welcome to our show, Obsessed, where we talk about cryptids, mythology, folklore, and whatever else we're currently obsessed with. I'm Caitlin Palmer.
And I'm Clay.
And we're
Obsessed.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? Why are you back here? Thank you for coming back.
Are we carrying over that old bit, I guess?
Yeah. So I came in prepared and then I started talking and, I didn't think before because why would I do that? So February is a lot of things. Obviously, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day, whatever you celebrate. There's, like I said, a lot of stuff going on in February. Valentine's Day, but it's also Spay-Neuter Awareness Month for dogs and cats. And I was going to come on here and tell you about how important it is to have your dog or cat spayed or neutered. Spay is typically female, neuter is typically male. Not just to, stop all the overpopulation and euthanasia and animal shelters, but just for the health benefits overall. Your females, you worry about reproductive cancers, breast cancers, pyometra, which is a terrible uterine infection that if it's not treated will kill them. And the way you treat them is to spay them. So just spay them.
Yeah, just get it out of the way.
Just do it. We were going to talk about that, but Clay, I have something more important that I need to tell you. And that's about this ice cream I ate just a few minutes ago. So I got this ice cream, and Clay, what was it called? Something about a river and caramel.
Yeah.
And like chocolate or something. But it was amazing. It had like brownie batter chunks and lots of just gooey caramel. And then the cone. I asked for chocolate on the cone. And I was a little salty because they didn't give me the chocolate in the cone. They put the chocolate in the bottom of the cone.
Oh, so that's interesting.
Yeah, because I was expecting, the cone to have chocolate around the rim with sprinkles. But they put like fudge down in the bottom.
It's kind of
like a dum-dum.
Yeah, like a dum-dum.
Yeah.
Was it all just to stall, I guess?
Yeah, I was trying to give you some time.
Well, today's topic isn't going to be particularly long. I looked for what information I could find. Unfortunately, a lot of what I could find pretty much comes from 2 or 3 places that are the origins of where everywhere else on the internet seems to pull their information from.
Oh.
So
my next topic is kind of like that too. Like, there's not a lot about it, but there's a lot of like topic adjacent things.
Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about this, but they're basically saying the same thing, and they all are quoting or referencing, 1 or 2 of the particular medias.
Okay.
So I'll begin by reading the original newspaper clipping.
Hell yeah.
A winged monster. Creature emitting a dazzling light terrifies Hawkeyes. Des Moines, Iowa, October 10th, 1903. The town of Van Meter, containing 1,000 persons, is terribly wrought up by what is described as a horrible monster. Every man, woman, and child in the town is in a state of terror, and fully half of them fail to close their eyes in slumber except in broad daylight. The monster put in its appearance Monday night. U.G. Griffith, an implement dealer, drove into town at 1 a.m. and saw what seemed to be an electric searchlight on Mayer and Griggs' store. While he gazed, it sailed across to another building and then disappeared. His story was not believed next day, but the following night, Dr. A.C. Alcott, who sleeps in his office on the principal street, was awakened by a bright light shining in his face. He grabbed a shotgun and ran outside the building, where he saw a monster, seemingly half human and half beast, with great bat-like wings. A dazzling light that fairly blinded him came from a blunt horn-like protuberance in the middle of the animal's forehead, and it gave off a stupefying odor that almost overcame him. The doctor discharged his weapon and fled into his office, barring doors and windows, and remained there in abject terror until morning. We are talking about Iowa's own Van Meter Visitor.
Ooh, I've never heard of this one.
The Van Meter Visitor, or the Van Meter Monster, it's sometimes called, is a 9-foot-tall, bat-like humanoid.
Okay.
With a horn on its head that shoots beams of light. Or as I like to say, a flying pterodactyl with a horn that shoots freaking laser beams attached to its head.
It's freaking laser beams attached to its freaking head. I know you didn't read ElfQuest, but it reminds me of a character on there.
Is it a pterodactyl with a horn on its head that shoots laser beams?
He's a Batman. He's pretty.
Like the Dark Knight?
No, he's like an actual bat guy.
Bad guy.
He has sex
Some
with
would
an
say
elf.
that Batman is too. I don't think Batman has sex with an elf, though.
Well, that's Batman's loss.
I guess. So yeah, there's not a lot on the Van Meter visitor.
I've never, ever heard of this. Honest to God, I've never heard of this.
But it is one of the strangest looking cryptids I've ever seen.
Yeah, when you were describing the light, I was picturing the lights coming from its eyes. So it has like a horn?
It has a horn that it shoots light out of. Light that's as we get into
bright.
as
Very
we
bright.
get into the details of these individual stories, talk about how blinding it is.
Wow.
How bright it is indeed. So a little bit on Van Meter itself.
Okay.
Van Meter is a city in Dallas County, Iowa. It has a population of around 1,400 people as of just 5 years ago.
Wow.
I believe
Bustling town.
The original newspaper article stated there was even less back then. It was a town built back in 1869. So at this point, the town had only been about, 40, 50 years old.
Yeah. The founders are probably still alive.
Probably still alive. I just want to make sure there's nothing interesting to say about that. There's not anything interesting to say about Van Meter.
Oh, there's not much interesting to say about Iowa. Ayo.
Damn.
Except the Iowa dairy farmer. I like him.
That information coming from Van Meter's own Wikipedia page, which is about 2 paragraphs long.
Wow.
Which should tell you about all you need to know about Van Meter, Iowa.
Oh.
That being said, about one of those paragraphs is dedicated to the Van Meter visitor, so there's even less to say about Van Meter, Iowa. If you're from Van Meter and you're listening, I'm sorry. Your town is, a hole in the wall.
At least you have a cryptid.
You got your own cryptid.
That's pretty cool.
And that's something.
One of our friends just found out that they have a cryptid.
I'm sorry?
Jill.
Oh, right,
cryptid.
that their town has a cryptid. We'll cover that one probably.
Ask me how I know that we will.
Our town is also a hole in the wall kind of place.
It is.
And we don't have a cryptid.
It's named after a coin, the value of which is less than a penny.
Yeah, as I saw it, it was stated a worthless coin.
Honestly, yeah.
So about the Van Meter visitor.
Yes, tell me. Paint me a picture with real words.
He does have his own page on NorthAmericanCryptids.com.
Hell yeah, I love that place.
So there's that. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information there either.
You're killing me, Smalls.
I wish I had more to tell you. The Van Meter visitor showed up and terrorized this poor little town and its poor little people for 5 solid nights.
Like consecutive nights?
Yes. As a newspaper said, it was first spotted on September 29th, 1903.
Okay.
Fully 120 years ago.
Yeah.
Making one of our, older cryptids, at least as far as North America is concerned. He was first spotted by Ulysses Griffith. Now, I don't know what his middle initial is, or I'm sorry, I don't know what his middle name is, but Ulysses is a pretty good first name.
I've always said Ulysses. You say Ulysses?
I say Ulysses.
Ulysses S. Grant. You say Ulysses S. Grant?
I guess so, yeah.
I'm learning more and more about you throughout
There's no recordings from that time. No one knows how his name was actually said. Mr. Griffith did, much like the doctor on the second night, grab his shotgun and run outside to shoot whatever the hell it was.
I love that everyone just has a shotgun.
Everyone, I will tell, spoiler for this whole creature, everyone has a shotgun at all times.
And I'm assuming everybody misses this creature too.
I'll get to that too.
Oh, yeah.
But outside he saw this creature up on a telephone pole, shooting, of course, a
freaking laser beams
out of its freaking laser
head.
Beam out of its head.
Right.
He did shoot at the creature.
As one does.
It is not stated necessarily whether he hit or not, but the creature seemed unbothered by the shotgun and simply flew away.
That happens a lot. Have you noticed that? That happens a lot. Jersey Devil got shot with a freaking cannonball and was just like, bang. Straight up not vibing with this.
Did we ever cover that? Was it an explosive cannonball round, or was it just like the solid piece of iron?
I think it was just a solid piece of iron,
which is
but
to say
honestly,
a large
I don't
bullet.
remember. Yeah.
The following night, Mr. O.V. White, who owned the local hardware store,
Cute.
heard a noise and looked out to find a creature on the roof. He also had a shotgun. He aimed at the creature and shot at it. It made a loud noise, like a scream or a screech, and flew away.
thing.
Right, yeah, he could have been just minding his own business. Everybody shows up with shotguns and starts
He was
blasting
like
him.
trying to save us money on our car's extended warranty, and we just keep shooting him.
The third night, a Mr. Sidney Gregg, who happened to be the town banker, was returning home, and he saw the creature not on a telephone pole this time, or on a roof somewhere up high. He saw it in an alleyway.
Oh, no.
Which, wow! You know it's going to be dark, and you see this 9-foot-tall pterodactyl-like creature stalking towards you. He, unfortunately, did not have a shotgun, or maybe fortunately had a shotgun. It depends on who you're rooting for in this story, I suppose. But he did describe it as having, quote, smooth skin, large eyes, and a blunt nose.
Okay.
Basically, he ran away.
Yeah.
He did not fight the creature. He could have just reached over, probably like 2 or 3 feet away from him, would have been a shotgun.
Yeah.
It's just out on the streets. It's
this town has
not even behind glass.
Right. This town has the most shotguns per capita.
On October 2nd, several townspeople got together in an attempt to track down this creature.
Okay. We got a bounty. We love a bounty moment.
They managed to track it back to an old coal mine, somewhere on the outside of town.
That's a no from me.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if that's where the story's going, it's kind of like, nah.
Underground, up.
Not underground, not in an old abandoned coal mine.
Unless you David Bowie, we ain't going underground. Mm-mm.
There they found not only the Van Meter visitor, but a second Van Meter visitor.
Oh.
There were 2.
The missus. Come inside and have a nice spot of tea.
One appeared to be of a larger size, with the smaller second one acting almost like a guard to the first one.
Aww. What if it was royalty?
Maybe. Yeah, normally you would expect the bigger one to guard the smaller one. You know, it's like, oh, this is my child.
Yeah, no, that's our leader.
No, apparently not. Oh, wait. No, the larger one was guarding the smaller one. I had that backwards. Yeah.
So it's his baby.
He's a little baby, but that means there's a third one somewhere that it humped.
No! You think they lay eggs?
I mean, it's like a giant pterodactyl thing, but, well, they also kind of describe it as like a large bat.
You think they have
Bat
cloacas?
person? Maybe?
Probably.
I don't know.
What do you think? Tell us in the comments.
Yeah, tell us in the comments. Tell us about the genitals of the Van Meter visitor.
I want to know.
Now, you could probably guess what happened next. The townspeople that had gotten in this group and tracked the Van Meter visitor back to its home with its young. They took out their shotguns and began shooting.
So anyway, I started shooting.
But the creatures ran like deeper into the mine. The following morning, the townspeople went back to the mine and sealed it up, bricked up the old mine entrance with what they believed, at least hopefully, with the creatures inside.
Yeah.
Which is better than following them into the mine shaft.
Yeah. Hopefully, God, I hope they got out on another side. Otherwise, they just suffocate down there.
That's what you're worried about?
Yeah, I'm worried about them.
Not worried about it escaping and, killing everybody?
Well, if it got out now, I'd be pissed too.
A lot of people compare the Van Meter visitor to the Jersey Devil, which I guess it has some similarities.
It
but
does, yeah.
Not necessarily what I wouldn't immediately be like, yeah, it's the Jersey Devil. Because it wasn't a giant flying horse bat
Kangaroo.
creature. Yeah. There's also people trying to insist that the creature that was seen was Mothman.
Okay.
Who also doesn't look like a giant bat pterodactyl thing. They're pretty much just
bipedal winged.
It's a bipedal winged creature, and it does like abandoned coal mines, and there's similarities there too, sure, but again, I wouldn't say that necessarily.
But it doesn't have like glowing eyes, right? It just has kind of big eyes.
No, it didn't remark on the eyes. What was remarked on was the smell. At least by one person, said it stunk like absolute shit.
Okay.
And of course, the horn, which emitted a terrible, terrible light.
Yeah, that's very defining of it. That's not Mothman.
I don't think it's Mothman. I don't think it's Jersey Devil, neither.
I think it's Alien.
You think it's an alien?
I'm calling it now. It's an alien.
We haven't even got to the rating yet.
It's an alien.
Allegedly, during the first encounter, the creature leaped from one rooftop to another, all the way across the street. So it just kind of bounced from roof to roof before taking flight and flying away.
Oh, we're having an anime parkour moment.
The anime parkour moment.
Yes.
The second night with Dr. Alcott, the town doctor, who was awoken to the light peering into his house, who also grabbed his shotgun, was said to have shot it 5 times with the shotgun, which is kind of a lot.
Yeah.
However, there was seemingly no effect on the creature.
It didn't even scream this time?
No scream. It seemed to be unbothered completely by the shotgun.
Okay.
Now, he could have missed with every
Sure.
shot. I don't know what kind of pellets he was using in his shotgun. Was it bird shot?
It was Russian roulette, but it was all of the ones that were not the bullet.
But, this would sort of lend credence to the other times that it was shot at, like by a whole horde of townsfolk, where the only thing it did was just run away from them. It didn't fall over or bleed or anything of that nature.
Oh, he ain't hurt nobody. Leave him alone.
There is a little bit of difference, at least according to astonishinglegends.com, that the banker also had a shotgun. That he wasn't just returning home from work, but rather he had posted up in his bank in case the visitor came to terrorize his business, like it had at least one other business before, being the warehouse.
He was going down with the ship.
Right, and he had brought his shotgun and also shot at the creature. And was said to have heard, quote, strangling noises coming from outside of his home before he shot it. Like, that this is the noise that the creature makes.
Oh, God.
Yeah, which sounds really terrible if the standard noise that this creature makes is like... Maybe it was eating something.
Maybe.
Birds, they just kind of like gobble something down. So if it's like a pterodactyl, it don't really have teeth for ripping and, tearing into flesh. It kind of just grabs something and does that weird bird thing where they're like, glock, glock, glock. Well, not glock, glock, glock. That's something different.
It's not drinking a cartoon soda.
That's not the noise.
Oh.
But in this version of the story, Dr. Alcott also noted that bullets had no effect on this creature. The next morning, reportedly, he had also seen a set of 3-toed footprints.
Oh, they're like little dinosaur footprints.
Little dinosaur footprints.
Were they I guess were they abnormally large, or were they?
I mean, it would be footprints equivalent to the size of a creature that's 9 feet tall.
Yeah, there was a guy who walked across a beach for years and years, like in giant penguin feet, and made the town think that there was a giant penguin cryptid.
That's amazing.
It's not.
Also in this version of the story, he saw the creature flee towards the mines, which is why they traveled out to, once the townsfolk got a posse together, they traveled out to that location specifically.
Right.
Other people had apparently heard strange noises coming from the abandoned coal mines as well, with one local describing it as, and I will quote this, "Though Satan and a regiment of imps were coming forth for a battle."
Oh.
Which, at that point, it's like, why would you go there? If that's the noises you're hearing, why would you go there?
There, but that is metal.
Now, the town, of course, embraces its cryptid. Something that, happens a lot. Especially with these small towns being the only sort of source of outside revenue, probably, besides people just passing through to get gas.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just missed, I say just because this was September 30th, 2023, but they just held a festival for the Van Meter Visitor,
that's cool.
Celebrating its 120 years. But they had guided monster walking tours, monster-themed games, drinks, food, quote, paranormal presentations, whatever that means.
Oh, probably like tarot readings and stuff like that.
Actually, you know what? I'm looking at the schedule of events to see what all they had. Sarah Cooper and Cryptids in the Media. I guess she's an author, perhaps.
Yeah.
Kevin Nelson on Digital Cryptids. Steve Berg, The Highest of Strange in Nebraska. 5 Nights of Terror Walking Tour. David Weatherly, Cryptids of Iowa. Jeremiah Byron, Bigfoot of Iowa, because every state has a Bigfoot.
Every foot does have a stake foot.
Every foot does have a big, yes.
Yeah.
Gabriel Duden, Using Citizen Science on Adventures. And then, of course, they finished off with another walking tour.
That would be fun.
Cryptid
walking tour. Yeah. But only if it's a nice chilly night. I have a little coffee.
Now, there was a book written on the Van Meter Visitor. I'm not sure how thick this book is, but it is named The Van Meter Visitor, A True and Mysterious Encounter with the Unknown by Louis Voss Nelson.
Ooh, interesting. I'd be interested to read it.
I mean, it's $15 on Amazon, so... for paperback. I was trying to see how big of a book this. Oh, it's 200 pages. That's
pretty short.
It's pretty short, but I mean for
a cryptid that it's very hard to find any information on.
A cryptid that has 2 paragraphs worth of information on. So
you expect way more than that out of a cryptid.
I mean, it'd be like that sometimes. That's how the Enfield Horror was. There wasn't much on him either. But they're my favorite type of cryptids. They show up,
and they leave.
They party for a couple of nights. They piss off all the townspeople, and then they're gone. Yeah. As mysterious as they came.
So they just disappeared after that?
Yep. They bricked up the coal mine. They could still be in there. Dead as hell.
Oh, shit.
So, dead or still alive.
I choose to believe they got out. Like, there's another...
Usually, yeah. Typically with mines, especially ones that are constructed on purpose, there is always another exit to the mine. It has to do with airflow, right. And of course, in emergencies, some other way out. So, unless they found and bricked up the at least one other entrance, then yeah, they could probably get out.
Do you think the creatures themselves were bricked up?
Are you asking me if the creatures were erect?
Oh, I thought that was about butts.
No!
I didn't know bricked up was about the front.
No, it's not!
Sorry. I'm learning so much.
Oh, I'm gonna have to cut that out.
You leave it! You fucking leave it!
You usually beg me to cut stuff like that out.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny. All right, well, we'll leave it in there for the giggles. Now, what do you want me to say about that?
You like, I pick up.
I do have to cut this out.
Just call me Edmund.
My wife has pulled her pants up as high as they possibly can go. And that's what we're giggling about.
I look like an old man.
She's pulled a Steve Urkel here on the podcast. For no one's pleasure except for my own, I assume, since you guys cannot see this.
You're welcome, baby. I know this is what you want. This is what men want.
So we did talk about people trying, and I don't know, it seems kind of silly, trying to say that this is the or a Jersey Devil / the or a Mothman. How do you feel about that? Do you feel there's any legs to stand on there?
I feel like they may be related, but I don't believe it's the same creature. Because the defining characteristics of the Jersey Devil is the big horse head.
Right.
Mothman, it's the big red eyes.
Of course.
Which, granted, they could be reflective.
Right, but there's 2, not a single point on its horn.
But there's 2, and there's no mention of a horn. Neither one of these got a horn.
There is some art of the Van Meter visitor you can look at. Typically, it bounces back and forth between some sort of half man, half bat creature and a frigging pterodactyl with a horn on its head. I, of course, am in the camp of a pterodactyl with a horn on its head. Not only is that kind of scary, because pterodactyls are scary. A 9-foot-tall pterodactyl is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because the only reason birds don't actively kill us now is because they physically can't.
Right.
If it was a 9-foot bird, it would. Kill us in an instant. Just imagine, like, you think chickens are cute, right? People have pet chickens and stuff. That bird would kill you in an instant if it could. And I know that, and if you own chickens, you should know that too, because you've seen the way they act. You've seen how they are. I once watched an ant try to make it across a chicken coop, and it just didn't make it. They all rushed it. It was like 8 of them. They did that thing where they turned their head to the side, eyes locked in on target, and they went over there and just ripped him into pieces.
I've met
one of those big cow
ants. Chickens. Like chickens that get handled a lot.
Well, sure, they get handled a lot, but that's just because they aren't big enough to eat you.
Yeah, that's true.
In that same chicken coop, I watched a single blade of grass break through the earth. The first time I've ever seen a grass sproutling emerge. And I was like, what a beautiful little slice of nature. And then as soon as that happened, every chicken in the coop rushed over and destroyed it.
I love that. I like chickens.
Of death and destruction only.
I have a crocheted chicken, and it's the sweetest thing ever. Her name is Henrietta.
Anyway, so a 9-foot chicken, but it can shoot laser beams out of its head. So that's what that is.
Okay, okay.
Some of the people in the town claim to have been even blinded temporarily by the lights. Like it was powerful and concentrated enough that it temporarily blinded them.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Well, I mean, you think about it when you're driving and assholes have their
Oh, no, I don't
on.
mean like that. I mean, they lost vision.
Oh, wow.
For a little while.
Yeah, but imagine if you'd never seen it before, it would blind you.
Never seen what before?
Like those bright lights.
They have lights. It's 1903.
Well, they have lights, but they're not like the bright lights like we have
The halogen
now.
bulbs?
Yeah.
I don't think it was described as a halogen bulb light, but...
Because they didn't exist back then.
Well, it didn't talk about like a white hot light.
Okay.
Which is distinct of halogen bulbs.
Fair enough.
You know, the just a powerful but soft golden light.
Oh, yeah.
Emerging from this creature's horn as it blasts you in the face with it. Which, of course, you know, the Jersey Devil and Mothman have nothing of the sort.
They don't have horns. No, they have wings.
They don't have horns.
They're winged cryptids, and Mothman came and left. Except for that one time at Denny's.
That one time at Denny's.
Except for that one time at Denny's.
We have a sticker that says Mothman ate my entire ass at a Denny's.
We have 2 stickers that
we
say
have 2
Mothman
stickers.
ate my entire ass at a Denny's.
Well, now I need to get one with the Van Meter visitor, and it probably won't happen because there's not a lot of apparel out there for him.
No, we'll just have to draw it ourselves. We'll have to design it.
That's true. We could do that.
Yeah, we could do that.
Well, you get on it because you're the one who does the art. So
Okay, on it right now.
I'll show you a picture of the Van Meter visitor.
I like him. He's cute. I wish we knew more about him.
I wish there was more about him. Period.
Yeah.
Okay. I could read the book, I guess. I don't know what.
Why didn't you read the book?
Because I didn't order the book. We didn't have $15.
That's true. Times is hard.
Times is hard. I put up the Patreon with the uncut fart edition that we talked about in the last episode.
No, you did not.
And no one's paid for it yet.
Because I don't fart.
Probably because I set it as a $45 a day subscription fee.
God. 1 minute per fart.
Well, unfortunately, that is all I have for the Van Meter visitor.
Yeah, we made it a little short one. We're both feeling some kind of way this week, but that's okay.
I haven't finished editing, so I don't know how short it's going to be. But we do still have to rate the Van Meter visitor.
Let's do it!
How likely are you to survive an encounter with the Van Meter visitor?
I'm going to, from a scale of 1 to 10,
From a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm going to give myself a 9.5 because everyone survived it. It didn't mess with nobody.
Does seem like a peaceful creature.
He was just in town for a wedding and we killed him.
The blinding light that he emitted did seem to be used almost in self-defense.
Sure.
Someone approached him, he's like, and blinds you and then flies away.
Oh. Bless it. What if he's just like scared and it's kind of like anal glands, but on a horn, and he's just like, ah!
I don't know if him running away was indicative of his personal aggression, or if him running away was getting shot with a shotgun every time he ran into a human being.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to give myself a little bit lower. I'm going to go with an 8.
Really?
Yeah, in hopes that he is a coward. There is a reality in which he's not a coward, and I don't have a shotgun because I don't live in Iowa.
That's true. That's where all of the shotguns
That's where all the shotguns are. So if I don't have a shotgun and it turns out he is just a giant bird and wants to rip me in half, not even to eat me, just out of spite, just because he hates things that are alive like most birds do.
Fair.
I'm going to have to give myself a little bit lower.
That's fair enough. I would try to befriend it.
You think so?
I would.
I thought you hate birds.
Well, I'm picturing him more like a pterodactyl or like...
That's a bird.
Yeah.
That's a proto-bird.
Like a scaly
That's
bird.
when birds and lizards were the same thing.
Oh, I love lizards.
Right, you hate birds, so you're indifferent to bird lizards.
Yeah, bird lizards are kind of...
Alright, well, how spooky do you think it is?
The reality of running into it is terrifying. If I saw it in person, I'd probably give it a 3 spooky 5 me. But sitting back, just hearing about it and kind of feeling bad for it, I'd give him a spoop.
He's a real underdog in his own story,
He's
huh?
a real underdog in his own story.
I'm going to give it a 2 spooky for me because, yeah, like especially running into it in an alleyway.
Sure.
Like one version of that story went.
What if it's skittered towards you on like its little arm wings?
Yeah, exactly. Like that'd be terrible. And it's looking down at you the whole time because it's 9 friggin' feet tall.
Oh, I forgot how tall he is. I stand by my rating.
And you can't really see it either because it's got the light facing forward, right? So what you see is the shadow of its form behind the light
it's like
crawling.
An anglerfish.
Well, it didn't say that it like lured people in with the light. Rather, it blasted them in the face with it. But it used it in self-defense in all of these stories. But it could use it aggressively
maybe
to
on its
dazzle
home
and
planet.
daze prey.
Yeah, maybe on its home planet. Because it's an alien.
Well, that's not the next question. How likely is it to exist?
Well, it doesn't exist anymore because it's been locked in a coal mine
It's been
for...
sealed away.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to believe in things like that.
I want to believe.
I want to
believe. This is copyright.
Not under parody law. I don't know, man.
You don't know?
I don't know. I don't really have strong feelings either way. So I'll give it like
a 5, the exact middle of
the exact. Well, I was trying to debate like if I gauge more towards one side than the other, but I mean it's very possible, but it's also not likely.
Now,
I want him to, but I just don't know.
I'm probably gonna give him a 3, and the reason being, a lot of people did say they saw this creature on different accounts too, so not all clumped together. One was with a bunch of people clumped together.
Yeah.
But with this being such a small town and the way word travels, especially back then, it's like everybody's at the diner, the one diner in town eating breakfast, and it's like, oh, last night I saw this. It's like, oh, did you hear about old, Alcott or whatever? He said that the creature, showed up at his bank and he shot the piss out of it with his shotgun. Someone else's shotgun that they had left next to the mailbox.
Right, because, I mean, there has to be
because there's one within reach at all times.
Right.
So, I think it's very possible one person saw this and then everybody else saw
they kind of jumped on the bandwagon.
With air quotes here.
Right.
Yeah, they also, it became sensationalized.
Sure.
And, everyone had their own story. They ran into it. And with something as defining as, like, with the light on its head, they could have seen another light somewhere else and be like, oh, that's it.
That's true, yeah.
And then shot into the darkness. Pow, pow! And it's like, it didn't do nothing. The light flew off. And he's like, well, yeah, shotguns are typically short range. Pretty short to medium range firearms.
I like how all these shotguns didn't wake anybody up or anything. They're just like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about just... and then so-and-so's wife came down and said, hey, what was all that about?
Hey, honey, you okay?
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
Well, with a town so overly saturated in shotguns, shotgun blast is not going to wake up at night. That's like the birds chirping. That's like that's like a car driving by on the side of the road.
That's the Iowa bird.
Yeah,
the shotgun is the national bird of Iowa.
Probably is. It is now. How likely are they to be an alien?
Oh, they're an alien.
You're in the alien camp immediately, huh?
It's an alien. I'll give it a 9 just because, maybe it's some kind... No, it's a 10. It's an alien.
They don't go into too much detail about the horn and the light.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because they'd be blinded at it if they looked at it, I suppose. Sure. But there does stand to... You could argue that the horn itself was not part of the creature, rather a piece of technology. Mm-hmm. That you couldn't get a good look at the creature because of the bright light, and that actually this was some sort of creature with some augmented wings and a weird head flashlight meant to disorient people. So I'll say it's not impossible that it's an alien. I'll give it a 5, which I think is one of the higher ratings I've ever...
Really? That's so low. You don't think it's an alien?
I don't think... There's not a lot saying that it is. I'm saying there's a possibility it could be an alien. An argument could be made for it being an alien. I don't see anything in the story that says that this is an alien.
It is an alien. I'm saying it. This is an alien.
Right, but what makes you say that?
Because it's got alien vibes.
It's got alien vibes. I like the idea of a pterodactyl with a horn on his head that shoots laser beams.
Dinosaurs are
That's
amazing.
Cool.
That's cool.
If it's an alien, then it's kind of like, oh, well, some of the fantasy went away. It's like, oh, the wings aren't, pieces of its body. It's equipment, and so is the horn. And
if Jurassic Park was real, I'd go. I know nothing good has ever happened at
but
I would.
A park named go. Jurassic.
And if they were like, do you want to pet the baby Triceratops? I'd be like, absolutely. And I would.
And then you die because they not only brought back the dinosaurs, but they brought back all the ancient bacteria that we have no immune system against.
Okay, well, if it kills me, that's okay, but I don't want to kill it. Like, I don't want to introduce that
bacteria goes both ways.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't care about the dinosaur.
I'm going to say it's a 5.
Okay.
I'll give it a break down the middle. I like the idea of a pterodactyl with a laser beam on his head.
On it.
I'm okay with the idea that it could be an alien, but Nothing in these stories said that it was alien in appearance. It's not like the Flatwoods Monster was like, oh, it had like a metal
Dress
carriage
thing. Yeah.
underneath it that it floated on, and it shit out this terrible smelling noise, this
Well,
terrible
it did
smelling
shit
stink.
out some terrible smelling something because it stank, remember?
Yeah, it did stink real bad, but that could also be the smell of a giant pterodactyl. They probably stink like shit.
Maybe. I don't know.
They did describe it as having pale, pallid skin, which is kind of alien-esque, at least if you're looking at the gray dudes.
What if it was sick and they came? What if the baby was sick?
Yeah, what if it was like E.T. sick?
Yeah, what if it was sick and that's why they came to Earth so the big one could find something
And instead
to
of a
save the
glowing
little
finger,
one,
it had a glowing horn.
Yeah, it's got a glowing wiener on its head.
Wiener.
That's a wiener.
Back to the bricked up thing, huh?
It's horny.
I'm cutting that out.
Don't you dare.
Well, that's the Van Meter visitor. Like I said, I wish there was more, but there's a kind of beauty to something this simplistic.
It is. I like it. I want to know more, though. See, I don't like unsolved mysteries. I want to know everything about it.
Sometimes it's better if you don't know more.
I know, but I want
Your
to.
mind gets to wander.
Oh, my mind wanders all the time.
You got to wander with your mind and be like, oh, I bet it's an alien.
It's an alien, and it was coming.
But if the story ended right there, it's like, oh, it was a pterodactyl.
Baby. But you know what? I'm going to tie up the loose ends for all my other girlies who don't like mysteries. They got out the other side, and they got the baby well, and then they ascended back into space heaven, and they're fine.
That's all fan fiction. And so is this! I saw... Oh, my God. I just knocked everything off my desk.
Almost pooped.
Well, I'm not cutting out the part where you said you almost pooped. I'll cut out everything else. I won't cut that out.
You will cut that out.
Someone online, a theory that they had was that it was actually a barn owl that flew into the mine and got a old miner's helmet stuck on its head.
Oh.
There's a few problems.
Yeah, barn owls aren't tiny, but they're not 9 feet tall.
Not 9 feet tall, and yes, owls do weird stuff with their wingspan, when they're swooping at you.
Sure, they look a lot bigger.
But the fact that it got an ancient, from my understanding, mining helmet that had a lamp on it, which I'm not entirely sure that those existed too long before 1903, that also still worked and turned on and stayed on for several days.
Yeah.
So while fun,
I feel like mining would have been common enough that they would have at least said it looked like it was similar to a mining headlamp.
Right, that also wouldn't look like a horn.
No,
I wouldn't think.
I don't think so. Even if it was sticking straight up, I don't think it would.
So sorry to that person if you're listening.
Yeah.
I don't buy into your theory.
I don't dislike your theory. I don't personally agree with it, but I'm proud of you for putting it out there. That was very vulnerable of you.
You know what my theory is?
What?
I don't know what my theory is. I don't have one.
No.
Yeah.
It's alien.
It's a pterodactyl.
That's a theory.
That's another problem with avian cryptids is, especially ones that big, it's kind of hard to hide them.
Right.
Because they're not skulking through the woods like, say, a certain large-footed Homo sapien ancestor might. I just pissed off some Bigfoot fan somewhere who's like, no, it's this. That there's so much on Bigfoot. We talked about, I don't know if we'll ever do an episode on Bigfoot.
I don't think
There's so much on friggin' Bigfoot, it's insane.
Yeah.
There's so much and so little all at the same time. Because
Bigfoot has his own podcast.
Yeah, Bigfoot is his own podcast. He doesn't fit into our Monster of the Week style podcasting formula. There are people who believe that Sasquatches are aliens or interdimensional creatures, all kinds of things.
I think it's an undiscovered animal.
Yeah, maybe. I can believe that there's a large ape-like creature. Yeah. I don't believe that it would still be around. I think it would be the one or two that existed back when it was first seen and then it died out. Because reproducing is hard when there's one of you.
Wow.
Which is the same problem for something like this. If these were around, we would have seen more. Or at least evidence of, you would think. What do they eat? children. Birds, like I said, they like kind of gulp down and swallow things whole. Their gizzard pounds it into mush so that their body can digest it. But usually
is that why gizzards have such a gross texture?
Yes, I don't eat gizzards.
What's the one you eat?
Livers.
Ew.
A gizzard is like cartilage, basically, or like super
you.
strong muscle. But they swallow those whole, and then they usually cough up later a bezoar.
Right.
Which is a pod of bone and other undigestible bits wrapped together in all of the hair and everything. It's pretty gross. You've probably also heard them called like owl pellets. Stuff like that.
Owl pellets. We got to dissect them in high school, and it was cute.
Right, but imagine if that was 9 foot tall. Yeah, there would be like a bezoar that was someone's dog and cat, or like a goat or something.
Okay. Okay, now listen.
Look,
if it hurt an animal,
Van Meter Visitor gotta eat.
Van Meter Visitor can eat a townsperson. You leave the dogs and cats alone.
He's got to be able to swallow it whole.
It's called leftovers.
Somebody like takes out a half-eaten lasagna and ting 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 on the sides of it. It's like, come eat.
Yeah. Everyone leave out a plate of lasagna
for the Van Meter Visitor. Well, that's the new. I'll contact the entire state of Iowa, not just Van Meter, and let them know of their new tradition of leaving out a half-eaten pan of lasagna for the Van Meter Visitor.
It's actually Gorefield.
Oh no, it's not even Garfield. The Gorefield meme.
Gorefield.
Yeah, look that up. That's fun.
That is.
Well, do you have anything you would like to say to the visitor before we leave?
Please spay and neuter your animals.
Oh, I was talking about the Van Meter Visitors.
Oh, the Van Meter Visitors? Don't eat
dogs? No, I wasn't. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.